Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Today, hey, you get me again one more day. And today joining me is Scott Girard from the Fitchburg Star. And Scott, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's a Friday. It's a good weekend ahead. How about yourself?
Oh, we're doing good. You know, staying out of the heat today. Really hot day today and tomorrow. So, got any good outdoor plans, or are you going to try to stay cool this weekend?
Gonna try to stay cool, watch some World Cup soccer and
Oh, there you
some
go.
baseball.
Perfect. Sounds like a good weekend. All right, well, it was a busy council, and Scott's in here to do the council recap, so we're going to get right to it. First, we're going to talk about the North Storm Prairie rezoning was a big topic.
Yes, yeah. So the biggest topics on Tuesday night for the council were both all items that were on the consent agenda, which is normally a set of things that gets approved as a package and takes about 30 seconds. But four items were removed from that agenda, all of which were proposed to be referred out to a commissioner or a committee for review. And the North Stoner Prairie neighborhood issue was certainly the most prominent and the most heavily discussed. There was a lot of citizen input. And so a little background on that, there was a neighborhood plan approved back in 2013, which, you know, the neighbors have said they felt very comfortable with and that they had a lot of input on. Last year, that plan was changed to accommodate a church, Blackhawk Church specifically, building in that neighborhood. And along with that change, a segment of the neighborhood was rezoned to high density, which would allow apartments. And the developer there has now come forward with or just to be clear, the plan was changed to have the zoning for high density. The zoning wasn't changed. That's part of what was on the agenda on Tuesday. But the plan was changed, which, you know, sets out what's expected to happen. And so neighbors have been pretty upset by that change. There was a meeting back in February covered by a colleague of mine, Alexander, a neighborhood meeting, and the neighbors were very unhappy then. And now that it was at council level, they continued to be unhappy. A lot of them said that how things had happened made them lose their trust in city government and that they felt very strongly that it was a problem. How the plan had been changed. The developer maintained that the council was legally required to refer the item to the planning commission and let it go through that process. The city's attorney, had been informed earlier that day and did not have a written memo on the subject or anything that, so that she was kind of saying, yes, it's probably a good idea to refer it, which the council eventually did, though it seems pretty clear that when it gets back to them for a vote on the substance, it's unlikely to be approved. It was referred to the Plan Commission on a 4-3 vote with one alder absent, so it was certainly splitting opinions, and you had there's a lot of strong statements by some alders. Dan Barr, for example, said, you know, he was certainly against it, but, you know, he wasn't sure what the legal options were. So it was just a big discussion, and then a kind of separate item that had been proposed by Dan Barr, Dan Carpenter, and Tom Clowder was an amendment to the plan that would put it, an amendment to the comprehensive plan in the city that would put the zoning in the plan back to medium density. And so another issue that was discussed about it was that amendment was slated to go to the Plan Commission in September, whereas the rezoning proposals were slated to go in July. So there were some timing issues that came up, but ultimately all both the rezoning amendment proposal and the amendment to the comprehensive plan proposal will likely go to the Plan Commission in September. And so they will go to the Plan Commission, but it certainly sounded like it's eventually headed for moving back to medium density. So yeah, that was a big discussion. And then the other one that the council discussed a little more briefly, but still got pretty heated was a proposal by the mayor to increase the salaries of elected officials.
Okay.
And he said that hasn't happened since 1997, and he just felt it was time. So the proposal would have increased salaries as of next May, which is after the next election, so it wouldn't necessarily impact the current officials unless they run and win re-election.
Right.
The mayor's salary would have gone from $10,000 to $25,000. The alder's salary from $5,000 to $7,500. Council president from $5,500 to $10,000, and then it also would have raised the municipal judge's salary.
Okay.
That got some strong criticism from a few alders who said that the budget has been too tight in recent years to consider something like this. And if they are going to consider something like this, they would rather do it during budget time. So it kind of ended. Mayor Gonzalez made a comment during the discussion that he could create an ad hoc committee of citizens to discuss the issue, taxpayers who could talk about the value of increasing those salaries. Wasn't clear for sure that that's going to happen, but that sounded like what he was proposing after the initial pushback from other alders.
Okay. So was there a lot of public input on that as well, or is that mostly the alders speaking out against that?
That was just the alders. No one from the public spoke, though. At one point, Alder Ann Scott made a comment and said, to quote her, "When I ran, honestly, I didn't think we got paid." And that did receive some applause from the people who were in the room.
Gotcha.
So no specific public comment, but they seem to support her sentiment.
Understood. All right. Well, those seem like some big topics that happened. We got a couple minutes left here. What else happened through that meeting?
Yeah, for as much time as was spent on those, there was still a very full agenda otherwise. The city administrator did note that the city has hired new human resources and public works directors, both from the city of Madison, so that was big news for the city. There was also some discussion about a senior housing project proposal for 2556 Fish Hatchery Road over there, and that also had some citizen input, and there were a lot of concerns. That's up in the Nobel Drive area, South Fish Hatchery Road, and there were a lot of concerns about traffic for that project. And again, a lot of alders indicated they just were not fans of the spot for it. A couple said, this is a great project, but bad location.
Gotcha.
And so it ended up failing on a 5-2 vote.
Okay.
And then later on in the meeting, the council went into closed session to discuss a pair of projects. One for another set of senior apartments, this one on the North Fish Hatchery Road at the corner with Traceway Drive.
Okay.
And coming out of closed session, the council recommended staff proceed with a letter of support from the mayor, and staff proceed with negotiations toward a development agreement with the developer for that.
Wow.
So that seemed to be supported.
Okay.
And then the other item from closed session, which would have been some proposed affordable apartments that would have actually straddled the line between the city and the town of Madison in an area that the city's slated to take over in a few years.
Yep.
But out of closed session, the administrator said that the council recommended ending negotiations with the developer at this point. No letter of support, no more negotiations. There was potentially going to be a tax increment financing request involved, and so because it was in closed session, I can't say exactly the issues that they had with it, but that project is done for now.
No longer. Okay. Well, it seems like a busy meeting, and I'm sure more of those meetings to come, just as busy, because now we're coming into budget season really quick here, so it's just going to keep getting more busy.
Yes, it will. They never fail to keep us interested.
No, definitely not. Well, Scott, thank you for joining us today with a full agenda, and we'll talk to you next month.
All right.
All right, thanks, Scott. And we'll be right back with a short break. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.